What's going on, guys? Rachel West back with you, and I'm joined today by one of our beat writers for the Bucs, Joey Knight. Joey, it feels like not that long ago we were talking about the Super Bowl and all the crazy partying going on after that, and your now famous tweet of the avocado tequila situation with the one and only Tom Brady.
Nothing will ever be able to top the avocado tequila incident, but all we can do is just forge onward.
Exactly. So we'll jump right into it here with the draft coming up here right around the corner. You know, we'll look at the big picture. This past college season, obviously weird time in the world for everybody, but particularly the college football season, one of the big storylines was all the guys who opted out and they didn't even play. So now that they're going into the draft this year, how do you think that the guys who made that decision, how do you think they're going to be impacted by that?
In general, Rachel, across the board, I think it will affect their draft status simply because you can't substitute game action, what you put on game film. And a lot of these guys have not played in an actual game since 2019. Jason Licht, the Bucs general manager, said it doesn't make it harder to evaluate those guys. It's just different because, you haven't seen them play in an actual game since 2019. And not all the pro days and bench presses and 40 times can replicate what you do on the field. And a lot of these guys, their tape is old, for lack of a better term. So I think unless these guys just had incredible game tape from 2018 and 19 and really flourished at their pro days, I think the draft status of those opt-out guys is going to be affected because coaches and GMs in general may just be tentative in taking a chance on a guy who hasn't played in so long. I don't think it will affect all of them, but in general, I think their draft status will be affected.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely tend to agree. I think it's going to certainly be interesting to see how that plays out for a lot of them there. And then when we start to look at it and break it down position by position, what are some of the deepest positions that are available in this year's draft?
Well, based on what you see with the mock drafts, you would think quarterback. And I think that's the Tom Brady effect. People saw what Tom did coming to Tampa and taking a 7-9 team and transforming it just with his talent and his locker room, the culture he brings to the locker room and transforming it into a Super Bowl champion. So now everybody's looking for that franchise quarterback. And so you see in the mock drafts, the assortment of them, 5 or 6 quarterbacks possibly going in the first round. Maybe not that many, but you know what I mean. Everybody just looking for that generational quarterback. Does that mean this year's draft is the best ever for quarterbacks? I don't think so. I don't know that it'll match 1983 when you had John Elway and Jim Kelly and Dan Marino and Ken O'Brien and all those guys in the first round. But I think obviously you're going to see, 3 or 4 quarterbacks taken in the first 10 picks just because of, like I mentioned, that Tom Brady effect. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence will be the first one drafted, the quarterback from Clemson. The Jaguars will take him. And then between Zach Wilson and Justin Fields and Trey Lance from North Dakota State, you could see a run on, in the first 10 to 12 picks, a quarterback being taken. I also think it's very intriguing for edge rushers. I don't know necessarily if it's the most talented class of edge rushers, but there's just some intriguing names, including some state names. Jalen Phillips, Gregory Rousseau from Miami, Kwity Paye from Michigan has gotten a lot of buzz. I think in 4 or 5 years, we could look back on this and say, hey, this was a really good class for edge rushers. So you ask me positions, I think those 2 positions are ones to watch, in the upcoming draft.
Yeah, we'll see how it pans out. I think quarterback's definitely the thing at the top of mind for a lot of people, but then again, those are so hit or miss all the time.
Sure.
So it's hard to find that next Tom Brady, to say the least. Now, narrowing in further, when we look at the Bucs specifically, I mean, they have everybody back, as is well documented. So what are the types of things that they're looking for going into this draft? Do they even really have any immediate needs?
They don't have any glaring immediate needs, and that's what makes this unlike any other Bucs draft of the past. Jason Light and Bruce Arians have said they could literally go with anybody. They probably won't draft a kicker, but they could go anywhere else. They've re-signed all 22 starters from the Super Bowl team, almost unprecedented. But they are getting a little long in the tooth in some positions. You think of edge rusher Jason Pierre-Paul's not getting any younger, coming off knee surgery. They are getting old up in the defensive front. When you talk about Ndamukong Suh and Steve McClendon, even William Golston has been, with the team a little while. He's pushing 30. So they need to replenish in defensive tackle. Unfortunately for the Bucs, defensive tackle isn't terribly deep in this year's draft. But they could certainly go for an edge rusher. They just recently signed Gio Bernard. When you talk about offense, the pass catching, versatile tailback from the Bengals. But when you think about tailback, Gio Bernard, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, essentially all are on 1-year deals. None of them are under contract for 2022. So it wouldn't shock me. They drafted a running back. Maybe somebody who could also swing out and line up at slot receiver, like a Travis Etienne from Clemson. So they could go in a number of different directions. But if I were a wagering man and you asked me, who they're going to draft, I think it would go on defense. Maybe somebody, a hidden gem on the defensive front or an edge rusher.
Well, having too many options and all the options in the world, certainly not a bad problem to have.
No, not at all.
So we'll see how they handle that last pick of the first round coming up here soon. Joey, thanks for all the insight. We'll be checking back in with you and our other Bucs reporter, Rick Stroud, throughout the next couple of weeks as we lead up to the draft here. But in the meantime, guys, make sure you're following along on Twitter with Joey, as well as Sports by Tampa Bay Times. And be sure that you're checking out tampabay.com for your latest Bucs coverage.